And why I bring this up is oftentimes I've heard from a lot of dentists is that they may use this scanner for crowns, but not for splints or orthodontic things, or not for restoring implants. When you're buying a scanner, you usually have to do a proposal. What is the benefit of buying this for the organization? If you're a private dentist, it's pretty simple. If you're the practice owner, you make the calls, but you also, without a doubt, will think about how do I maximize ROI? And as I mentioned, I've used my Medit scanners for everything in dentistry. Everything from a single crown, full arch impressions, implants. You may notice a couple of full arch implant restorations. This is something, again, I don't want to cover in this webinar because I'll be repeating myself. Check out the previous webinar. But fundamentally, scanning alone can be done, especially if you're just doing a temp restoration or something like that. But if you want to go from scan to final restoration for a full arch implant restoration, you still need verification jigs or to use something like photogrammetry or scan gauges. But apart from that, a scanner can be used for everything else. Implant bridges, even, quadrant dentistry, quadrant rehabs, full mouth rehabs, you just use your scanner. And so what you'll see is that in this video, this is a very simple scanning video taken live. It's not sped up or anything. You can see this crown preparation being scanned, extremely efficiently. And that's really the beauty of scanners. And this is the point that you want to get with your scanner. You want to get to the point where it's completely seamless and you can do something like this within a few seconds. And once again, I've used my Medit scanner for everything from a single crown to a full mouth rehab, as you can see here. And this is a full mouth rehab case being scanned very simply. And I can tell you, taking an impression of this case would be much more difficult. An impression of 12 crowns is not an easy feat. Whereas when you use a scanner, it is much easier, it's much more efficient. And this is really where the ROI comes from, because you are just making your clinical processes much faster, much more relaxing, easier on you, easier on the patient. Because I know you all can imagine, if you try to take an impression of this, if you miss the margin in one of these crowns or you have an air bubble, how frustrating that is. You have to redo the whole thing. And really, this is the point you want to get to, is that where you can do these scans day in, day out, like it's nothing. It's completely easy. You're completely relaxed. And this is really where the ROI comes from. The ROI is not just how much impression you're going to save. The ROI is also the benefits for your patient in terms of comfort, in terms of their experience in the practice, and also for you. Doing this, and when it gets to the point where it's so easy that you never even look at impression material again, that's really where the ROI is. And the only way to achieve that is practice. Even this is a partial denture case. You have to know what to do in these cases. So you might be wondering, why did he scan the partial denture? Well, in this case, I was fitting crowns to an existing partial denture, which is one of the hardest things to do without a scanner, by the way. Fitting crowns to an existing partial denture traditionally is exceptionally annoying. You have to take the denture away from the patient, send it to the lab, whereas with a digital scan, it's super easy. But you do need to train. You need to understand, how do you do this? A lot of people think scanners can't scan metal, but here's an example. I scanned this partial denture, cobalt chrome. It comes back down to training. How do you scan, the techniques? And trust me, guys, I didn't use anything fancy here, no scan sprays, no nothing, but it's just technique and practice. So number one, and it may be a no-brainer for a lot of you, is that you really need to utilize it. You need to use the scanner. Force yourself. I personally use my scanner every single day in my practice. Hours and hours of scanning. And some of you may not even quite fully grasp what you can use a scanner for. Now, this is something I went into great detail in one of the previous webinars in the series, so do check it out. But In general, you can use your scanner for pretty much everything. Crown and bridge, splints, every appliance you can imagine, implants, implant guides, restoring implants, surgical guides, removable prosthodontics, orthodontics. You can use your scanner for basically every indication in dentistry. As I mentioned in a previous webinar, the only indications you don't use a scanner for, or let's say you need an adjunct, or you may use impression material for, is if a patient comes in completely edentulous and they want dentures. That is the only time I would take an impression. If they have teeth and it's an immediate denture, I scan that. But really the only time is a completely edentulous patient, because you're not going to get a functional impression from a scan. You take a physical impression, but then you can scan that. And why I bring this up is oftentimes I've heard from a lot of dentists is that they may use their scanner for crowns, but not for splints or orthodontic things, or not for restoring implants. My friends, the research is already established. Anecdotally, it's already established. You will hear it time and time again from people that use scanners. You can literally use a scanner for everything in dentistry. And so the way you maximize ROI is to use the scanner, utilize it for everything in your practice. It's doing no good being only used for a crown or something like that.